Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS news for Monday, December 20, 2021. An additional 27,357 needy beneficiaries who are not on any government social assistance program will each be receiving a one-off grant of $16,000 just in time for Christmas. Labor and Social Security Minister Carl Samuda says this covers just over 9,000 poor families and will be paid in 2 equal installments starting this week. The $155 million grant is courtesy of the World Food Programme through contribution from the Canadian government. The Labor and Social Security Ministry is responsible for its equitable distribution. The cash transfer distribution is being facilitated by WIPA Jamaica Limited through its network of outlets across the island. The Ministry of National Security continues to provide better working conditions for police officers with the latest opening of the Buff Bay Police Station in Portland. The facility was built under the ministry's Project Rebuild, Overhaul and Construct ROC at a cost of $126 million. The building has a ramp for the disabled, a server room, interview rooms, barrack dormitory, and other modern amenities. National Security Minister Horace Chang says government is investing in improving police stations across the island, and over the next 3 years, approximately $14 billion will be spent on police facilities.
We are committed to effecting that transformation. We have already effectively dealt with about 101 of those stations.
As the move continues to rebuild, renovate, and retrofit police stations island-wide, Minister Chang says design work for a new station in Savannah Lamar has been completed and will go to tender. The Senate has passed the Corrections Amendment Act 2021 to facilitate tighter control of prohibited articles being transported in and out of correctional facilities. The legislation was passed without amendments during Friday's sitting. Among the changes is the classification of electronic communication devices and computers as prohibited articles. The bill also introduces a regime for the confiscation, destruction, and disposal of prohibited articles and increases the fines and custodial sentences for existing provisions to make them more of a deterrent. There are also new offenses added to the law. These include having access to, use of, or possession of an electronic communication device or computer in a correctional institution. It is also an offense for inmates to tamper with any electronic communication device or computer, as well as to transmit any data without authorization using an electronic communication device or computer. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Matthew Samuda, says the amendments arose out of a need to address the rapid technological advancements, particularly in communications, which pose a challenge for the country's correctional institutions.
This amendment, Mr. President, is critical for the integrity of our security architecture, which is constantly under threat by criminals who are robust in their efforts to challenge the authority of the law and prejudice the safety and security of decent law-abiding citizens of this country.
A second government-run shelter for victims of domestic abuse has been opened. Gender Minister Olivia Grange opened the shelter last Wednesday. The facility can house approximately 13 women and their children who will have access to counseling, skills training, employment opportunities, and internet access. Minister Grange says the shelter, which is in a remote location, will focus on housing very high-risk victims of abuse.
I scheduled this tour so that I could demonstrate that we are doing something about protecting our women and that we have facilities that are ready to be occupied. So here we have additional facilities.
The minister says work to transform a third property into a shelter for victims of domestic abuse continues, and that third shelter is set to open next year. The construction of new health facilities totaling $200 to $236 million is to start in the first quarter of the new fiscal year. The work will form part of government's Health Systems Strengthening Program and the 10-year Strategic Development Plan. In a recent update to Parliament, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said the infrastructure work would be done over the next 3 years.
With designs complete, and we have put some of those designs on the outside for members to see, and budgets committed and now in place, we will go to market for competitive tendering in the first quarter of 2022, that's next calendar year, with the intention to begin the build out in the second to third quarter and may even continue over into 2023.
Projects slated to start next year include the Spanish Town and Maypen hospitals, as well as the Greater Portmore, St. Jago Park, and Old Harbour health facilities. Under the Health System Strengthening Program, 13 health facilities will benefit from upgrades. It is jointly funded by the European Union, Inter-American Development Bank, and the Jamaican government. And finally, government has lifted the travel restrictions placed recently on a number of African countries. The restrictions were imposed on travelers from Botswana, Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. It was done in response to the emergence of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. But as of December 16, both nationals and non-nationals who have traveled to these countries are now allowed entry into Jamaica. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.